Something that happens when you start to align with your authentic self is doubt starts to go out the window. Today, I take time to reflect, I consider my options, but once I make a decision, it's generally one that's very confident. I feel assured in my choices, and that's what you're longing for. Right now, you are either in a place where you know exactly what you want, but you're doubting how to get there or if it's even possible. Or right now, you don't know what you want, but you know what you're experiencing isn't it. Let's transform that doubt into decisiveness. And today I'm going to help you do that in just 4 questions. Before diving in, scroll down and hit the subscribe button that really supports this channel, and it supports you by gaining access to free alignment trainings every single Tuesday. If you're especially excited about this video, give this video a like. That lets me know to make more content like this. And if you want to follow along with the exercise I'm about to introduce, head to my blog to access your free PDF. So if you tuned in last week, you got to see behind the curtain of Yes and behind the curtain of me. I posted a diary entry video when I was in a season of doubt and uncertainty. It was tearful, it was overwhelming, and if you caught in that video, I wasn't being indecisive. I wasn't actually on the fence about what I wanted to do. The point being, your doubt is not bad or wrong. What we can welcome in, however, is a little bit more certainty to get you unstuck and start living the life you are meant to live. This powerful 4-question practice is based in positive psychology, and a shout out to Cordell Glass reminding me of this practice a few years ago. Go check out his music on Instagram. And what differentiates this activity from others is that it is bringing your own wisdom to the surface. You hear me talk about that a lot if you watch my videos. I do not know what's best for you. Here's what I do know. You have the answer within you. It might currently be covered with fear or doubt. However, I know it is within you. I bring it out from my clients every single day. So trust yourself, believe in yourself as much as I believe in you, and use these 4 questions to not only bring out that wisdom, but build the courage to take aligned action. Question number 1 is simple. What change are you considering? Lay this out as direct as possible. I'm here to support you and encourage you and also keep you accountable. So if you are considering a change right now, if you are in a place of doubt, comment your answer to that question below. What is the change you're considering? Using the example from my diary video last week, the change I was considering at that time was whether or not to leave the full-time job I was currently working. And even a layer deeper, what was really going on in my mind is, do I leave stable income? Once you lay out your change, go on to question 2 and make 2 pro-con lists in this order. If I were you, I would divide a paper into 2. I would have 1 pro-con list on the top and 1 pro-con list on the bottom. Start in that upper left quadrant. What are the pros of not making this change? When I first heard of this exercise, this question startled me the most. What are the pros of not changing? I thought I was trying to motivate myself to change. Trust the process. What are the pros of you not making this change? So again, with my example last week, the pros of not making that change, not quitting the job, was financial security, was potential connections with individuals in a like-minded community, was a feeling of safety. And then move to the next column. What are the cons of not making this change? So the cons of not quitting that job for me was it was limiting my time to work on Yes and. It was causing difficulty to schedule one-on-one clients because I didn't know my work hours more than a week or 2 in advance. And one of the biggest cons for me, when I got really honest, is that I would let fear win. I talked about last week, the only reason I was really ultimately staying in that job is I was afraid to leave it. And that did not feel good. Then go down to the lower left quadrant. List out what are the pros of making the change? What are the pros of doing the thing that you're thinking about doing? For me, quitting the job in direct opposition of what I just put on that other cons list is it would be a way for me to show I believe in myself and I believe in my business. It would be a proclamation for me and for those around me that I am going forth, diving in with 2 feet. A pro of making that change is my schedule would open up. I would be able to say yes to more opportunities and commit to clients far in advance. Furthermore, I'm a firm believer that when we close doors, other doors open. When we say no to misaligned opportunities, it allows us to say yes to opportunities that are in total alignment with our purpose and our passion. Then go on to the final list. The cons of making the change. A con is I could be losing potential connections that I thought I could foster at that job. Hypothetically, I could burn through all my money. I talked about that earlier. That was a big fear of mine. A con would be the hard conversation I would have to have with my boss and with my coworkers that I was leaving a position that I had recently just joined. A con is I would have to find a way to cope with the fear of those around me. At that time, I was navigating some conflicting messaging coming from parents and well-intentioned advisors to say, no, that's a bad idea. Ultimately, they were just trying to look out for me. However, it was still hard to hear, especially when I was already in a fear place. So if I made the change, I would have to find a way to put up boundaries or foster my own confidence. Of course, all of these examples are my own. If you really want to make this change, if you really want to get unstuck and get out of this place of doubt and uncertainty, please sit down and do this activity. Write out your 4 pro-cons list, and again, in this order. Another fun way to do this activity is to have a friend read it to you or a coach read it to you so that you can talk through things a little bit more organically rather than writing things down, which sometimes I've heard from my clients feels overwhelming because it feels more permanent. So download that PDF, again linked on my blog, and then give it to a friend, a family member, and have them walk through it with you. Once you have declared the change that you are considering making and you have written out your pro-con list, go on to question 3. On a scale of 1 to 10, how committed are you to making this change? If I remember back to that time when I was sitting in my office chair crying about the change in front of me, whether or not to quit the job, I was at about an 8. I knew it was best for me, and that fear was still really prominent. There's a second part to that third question. What makes that number so high? So for me, an 8, it was so high because I knew it was best for me. I knew it to my core. And again, to reiterate, I knew that if I didn't make that change, it was solely from a place of fear, and I didn't want to live my life that way. Determine your number. Even if it's a 2, ask yourself, why is that number so high? Then go on to question 4. On a scale of 1 to 10, how ready are you to make this change? If you saw the video from last week, you know that that number was not a 10 for me. I was still in the place of crying and grappling with that decision in front of me. Again, those fears were really loud. The doubt was really prominent. And so I would say I was about 4 or 5 at that point in my decision-making process. Going on to the second part of question 4, how could you increase that number? So what I actually did after filming that video is I got on a call with my coach and I talked through the fears. I let them say what they needed to say. I heard out the values that were being represented by those fears, and I reiterated again and again why the change was so right, why my intuition was calling me to make this change, why I knew in my gut it was best for me, and therefore best for everyone else. Furthermore, I took some of the cons of making that change and I created a plan to make them less conny. So the hard conversation I would have with my boss, I pulled out my book, Nonviolent Communications, and I wrote a general script so that I felt like I could have that conversation with confidence and with empathy. I pulled up my budget, I looked at my numbers, and I asked myself what the worst case scenario was and what the best case scenario was to build the confidence and give myself a little bit of tangible evidence that I would be okay no matter what. Again, turning this back to you. Find your number. How ready are you to make this change? And how can you increase that number? Of course, if you need support in this, comment below or reach out to me. I am here for you. Something else to keep in mind as you go through this process, this motivational interviewing activity with yourself, or maybe you partner up with a trusted friend, family member, or coach, is to keep in mind your strength. Why this is important is because if you're intention focused and you're thinking about making a change, you are more likely to get stuck in this reflective thought loop. You may spend hours, if not days, weeks, months, potentially even years, making these pro-con lists and thinking through all the options and trying to tap into your confidence and your fears and working with coaches, but never actually making that change. So question 4 is really important to you. How ready are you to make that change and be real with yourself? If you're not ready to make that change and your strength is intention, I actually recommend you set it aside. Otherwise, you're going to waste so much energy just spinning in circles. Come back to it when you feel more ready to make that change, or create an accountability plan or bring in a support system that will help you to take action. If you are action focused, you may whiz through this activity and make a change without taking the necessary pause and thought to consider what your intuition, what your gut, what your true self is telling you. If you're action focused, spend a little bit more time on question 2 with the pro-con list. and get really honest with yourself. Go deeper than that surface layer. Pause, take a breath, and ask yourself, what are you really afraid of? What do you really desire? Where are your values in the midst of this change? I am so confident in all of you to make a change, to leave behind the doubt and step into a decision, to act in alignment and start experiencing the fruits of what happens when you are authentically aligned. So now it's your turn. Implement this activity. Again, it's written out for you and you can access that PDF by going to my blog linked below. Furthermore, as you complete this activity, personalize it for your strength. Again, if you are intention focused, really pay attention to that fourth question. And if you are action focused, spend a little extra time and invite real honesty in question 2. Remember to comment below what change you are considering. And I would be so appreciative if you gave this video a like. I assume you liked this video if you made it this far. Subscribe and turn on notifications so that you never miss a free alignment training, and to keep yourself accountable, to get unstuck, to get out of doubt, and to make clear, authentic decisions and aligned actions to follow. You are not alone. And if you go about this activity and still feel like you're in a place of doubt and your mind is spinning, then tune back in next week. I'm introducing another exercise that is one of my favorites to do with one-on-one clients, and you will get free access to it to stop your mind from spinning. That is all from me this week. My name is Marin Lauka. I am the owner of Yes and as a coach, author, and speaker, I empower you to align with your true self, which means getting rid of those false expectations, limiting beliefs that you may have, to own your potential and experience the full life right in front of you, waiting to be enjoyed. I'll see you next week.